Good evening and welcome to this episode of Let's Talk. My name is Emmanuel Odeke, and it's a privilege to be here again trying to make sense of a few things that we can do within the 1 hour that we normally have every Tuesday here at Church of Uganda Family TV. And we are located along Kampala Road. We are one of the only TVs located in the city center. For us, if you want to find us, come to Kampala Road, Church House, floor 13. You'll get us right there. And we do everything we can to enrich lives. Today we are looking at the proposed tax on diapers, on tampers. Now, are they indirectly trying to say reduce on your production or something of that kind? So that is just a bit of what we'll be looking at today. And with me in the studio is the lady you've always known. She's the usual culprit of this show, and her name is Mama Africa. Actually, that is AKA Mama Africa. She should be able to introduce herself to you and what she does, and then we should be able to dive straight to today's discussion. So today is the 23rd of May. So this is month number 5 in the year of 2023. What much have you done yet? Or you're still saying my things are going to happen towards the end of the year? Otherwise, welcome to the show, and you don't need to touch your remote. If you can remove the batteries, please remove so that those children don't tamper with the remote and change the station. Welcome, Mama Africa.
Thank you.
How about you say hello to our people?
Good evening, everyone that is streaming live with us. As he says, my name is Mama Africa. I think I'm no longer a visitor here. I'm almost becoming a staff.
Mama Africa is no longer a visitor here. She just pops in anytime anyhow. Yeah. And that is how we run. So you just want to be sure that you'll definitely... there is some bit of her that almost went viral. And that was as per the previous show that she was here, Amalo. Do you remember the Amalo?
Yeah, I do. You know, some people were even forwarding it to me, and I'm like, but I'm the one. I mean, I must be aware of that.
Like they seemed like it wasn't you. But anyway, that is Uganda for you, and you don't want to be surprised. Otherwise, we are still here. So today we'll be looking at the proposed tax on the diapers and other things. Why now? Why now? So that's what we'll be looking at. So the AKA is Mama Africa. How about the real botanical name?
Daphine Kyakunzire.
Aha. So you can hear the name. The name has weight. So if you don't, if your tongue does not have that bit of weight,
I'm certain even you would not try the other Kyakunzire.
I can. I am born in Kampala. I am born in Kampala, so some of these things. So let's dive to the topic. What do you make of these proposed taxes on diapers, on these things?
Okay.
And these seem to be essentials for children nowadays, more so in the city center. Those days in the villages, nappies used to work, but now we are in the city. You can't keep a nappy with a child
for a really entire day. But also even in the villages of late, people are advanced. You know, you cannot go to church most of them, at least if they cannot afford it daily or at night, they try to make sure that when they are going to visit or when they are going to church or they are going for a function, at least they have one that can, take them for about hours. Okay. Yes. It's not that only in the cities. You talked about why now. I think it doesn't matter the time or the period at what this motion is tabled. The fact is, even if it is tabled in the next years to come, it would still be as impactful as now. So what matters is why and what are the effects. Because I'm sure they could be having reasons why they are bringing up this, but they are also supposed to consider the effects of that outcome. What is going to be next? First, if I ask you, my host, when you increase a tax on a certain product, what happens? The prices go high. When the prices go high, that means a big number of people are going to be affected. Already they are striving, they are struggling to meet with the current prices. The current price right now, I think one pamper, like one diaper, is about 1,500. But you know, at our stake and at our economy, very few mothers can afford a pamper of 1,500. So if they increase, maybe it will go up to 2,000 or 1,800 or 1,700, meaning very many mothers are going to lessen on the usage of those diapers. But me and you know it on record that of debt, very many of these mothers, 25%, are adolescent mothers. Between 17, 50, yes. They are trying to make a life. They are trying to find a way of surviving. I think we should be reducing the burden than increasing the burden. And the people who make these bills could think maybe it's a luxury. Maybe pampers are luxury. I mean, you can just get a cloth, tie your child, and move. But in real sense, gone are the days where we used to be tied in those clothes, because our mothers could literally stay with us from sunrise to sunset. There was no need for them to go and hustle like our grandfathers or our fathers. Why? Literally everything was free. To date, even if you're not a single mother, you have to join efforts with your husband to make sure you meet the high costs of living. Are we going to give up on giving birth?
That is something that comes.
Are we going to stay home and look after our children until 3 years when they really are able to understand that this is a toilet? One way we ease our work is because we're going to leave these people with households, with the kindergarten teachers. We're going to be able to leave our children somewhere so that we go and catch up with the day-to-day activities to meet our costs of living.
How are you seeing the costs? Sometimes I imagine I live in another world, and some people maybe are living in another Uganda altogether. Because now, I grew up during times when a kilo of sugar was 1,200 shillings. I don't know if you were there then.
Yeah.
But I took sugar 1,200.
200, yeah. I also did.
We took soda.
At one time it was even 500, 300.
That was later.
Yeah.
For us who took soda then, we had soda at 200 shillings.
Very good.
300. And then later on it went to 500. Now, what is happening? Am I in the same world where a kilo of sugar today is 6,000? And now, these are essential things, like seriously, that everyone should use. Soap. Now, when you talk about soap, sugar.
When you talk about soap, Odeke, you take us back to the alternatives that we are left with. Those are the clothing diapers that will also require more soap. And at this time, I think a bar of soap is about 3,000.
No.
How much is a bar of soap?
White Star. It should be about 6,500. I'm
actually even lessening the money. So how many families can afford?
It is 6,500 but in supermarkets it's about 7,000.
7,000. See? So how many families can actually afford that 7,000? And with these clothing diapers, you have to keep washing.
Yeah, it's a daily.
And it's a daily routine. And in Uganda, we pay water bills. We pay for everything. You have to buy the soap, you have to consider the water, and also the time.
Exactly. So looking at all of this, sometimes you want to ask yourself, the people proposing some of these bills and some of these tax increments, are they living in Uganda?
The problem is they are living in Uganda, but they think their situation is actually every Ugandan's situation. Let me tell you, Odeke, the market that the MPs and the ministers go to shop is the same market I go to shop. Their salary right now, the MPs get about 35 million. But you will find a Ugandan like me who struggles to even get 5,000 a day. But the same price they buy a pamper is the same price I'll buy a pamper. The same market they buy their commodities is the very same market I will buy my commodities. But have you seen the salary difference? The income difference? They can literally afford even a diaper of 100 Ugandan shillings. But how about that struggling mother who is being chased on the streets for selling tomatoes? Who is vending PKs? How much do you think they earn? But they have children. They're carrying children on their back.
And they have families.
And they have families.
They have bills.
They have bills to pay. It is unfortunate that we're in a country where we don't have any benefit. Sorry to say this. Like, we don't have any benefit. We cater for each and everything. There is nothing like I'm going to give birth and the government will look after my children. There is free medicine. There is free education. There is nothing like that. Even if they say it is free, you will need some costs like books, pens, pencils, transport to the school.
You go to those schools today. In my village, there is PTA. That is PTA. And that is in the village. PTA. Now, what they do, they introduce boarding section. Now, the ones who are in this section, they literally put less care on them, so that you are influenced to put your child
in boarding.
And when the child goes to boarding, you have bags of money to live there.
Yeah.
And to make matters worse, but anyway, what they call free is not free.
It's not free at all. It's unfortunate for us that we don't have those benefits. So entirely, as a parent, you must be able to cater for all the bills and the costs at whatever expense. Whether you have or you don't have, you have to. Whether you're earning or you're not earning, you have to. It is a must, no exception. So in this era and generation we are in, where would you be pushing those mothers? Meaning we are pushing them to alternatives, to prostitute, to go outside the country. We've seen very many girls go and don't come back. In all means, we are making things harder for them to live in their country. Instead of us lightening a bit things, there's some things that can be taxed. It's to my surprise that some of these bills, by the way, are passed by fellow women. I mean, a woman would feel the pain of another woman. They would feel what we go through. They would really understand the hassle. If you increase the prices of those diapers, to some people they may think it's a luxury. They may think anyway it's not a must. You can live or live without. But yes, I can live without. But what are the consequences? That I can live without. What are the consequences? Because it's true, there are mothers that can live without. If you cannot afford bread, go for cake is what they're telling us to do.
And how practical is that?
How practical is it? Because if you're telling me to leave my job and stay way back home and look after my child, because it goes along with a lot of work. It goes along. I gave you an example that way back our mothers would sit with their children at home from sunset to sunrise. Why? They were not working. Most of our mothers were not working.
But also looking at the mothers then, they were people who were home.
Yeah.
But then also the homestead is not the homestead we have today.
We have today, yeah.
Now, the homesteads today, you're in a gazebo here and there. At the moment your child takes 5 footsteps, they're already at the neighborhood.
Yes.
Now, just imagine your child is messing up at the neighborhoods, at the neighbor's place. That is not smart. That is not good. You definitely get feedback.
Yes.
That your son
has done this.
Done A, B, C, and D. And yet, if the child had a pamper, however much they mess up on themselves,
yes,
they'll bring back their stuff to your house. And you're able to. But I think bottom line is, I really want to think they should be able to look into certain things.
A lot of looking into, like we talked about it, these people that table those motions don't think about the entire Ugandans. If I can afford a bottle of beer, maybe of 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, there are very many chances that someone else cannot afford it and they can opt for buno obuwala jobwa kasese
There are so many brands now.
the less ones was sent into
1,000,
very
2,000.
good, very good. This is something that these people are not looking into, that if they can afford a pamper or a diaper of 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, waliyo omuntu wa bulijjo nga n'1,500 okulufuna lutalo. Now if that 1,500 is still being a burden, is still being a problem, how about you increase it? Yes, you're increasing it, meaning you're going to force these people to derive alternatives. These alternatives are way more of a negative effect than a positive effect. Mugendo sangira abazadde because they're trying to make a life. They're trying to live the high costs. They're going to derive means of making those meetings. They're going to create ways possible to make sure they raise those monies. If they're going to cheat, they're going to cheat. If they're going to prostitute, they're going to prostitute. If they're going to leave their countries for greener pastures, which is happening now.
Are they really green?
That is what we think. I think they are green because if you can get 800 a month and you've been not even trying to raise 200 a month, it is green. But what conditions are they going through?
Exactly. So the greeners should come together with the condition.
Very good.
When we return from the break, we'll be looking at more to this and trying to make sense. What's up? What's up with these guys? Are they Ugandans? Do they go to the? But anyway, I understand they might be going to the same market we go to. But anyway, the difference with the income will tell you why certain things are passed the way they are, without people minding about others. When we return from the break, a lot more about that, and we'll be discussing such kind of stuff. How about they make something slightly better for Ugandans and then leave what others? I would personally propose, even if a bottle of beer costed 10,000 shillings.
Very good.
That would be, because that is something people go for.
It's
leisure.
optional. It's not a mandate.
It's not a mandate.
Yes.
And people still, however much you take it to 10k or 20k, they will still buy.
They will buy it.
Because there are still restaurants in Kampala who sell a beer at 10k.
And people buy it.
Still
even
buy.
20k, there are hotels that sell it,
Yeah.
and you'll find people buying it.
There are things that everybody must use, but they are really heavy. When we return from the break.
Let's talk.
Let's Talk is an uncensored program on Family TV that attempts to answer questions that are unanswered within our church settings. Questions like sex and money, drugs and alcoholism, prophecy and prophets in our country. So, catch us every Tuesday on Family TV as we explore different topics and make attempts to answer the different life topics. With me, Emmanuel Odeke, let's talk. Welcome back to the show, and I can assure you we are still here and we are not going anywhere until it is 10 o'clock. We are not going anywhere until it's 10 o'clock, and we are still discussing these proposed taxes. And it is good to pay tax. I love paying tax personally. I do pay tax and I love it. But again, sometimes it becomes very uncomfortable when you pay tax on a pinchy and a hard ground. Pay tax on something that seems relevant, but Uganda, it's not. It may not be the case. It may not be the case. Mama Africa, we're still here. Yes. What are some of the effects that this throws on mothers? Let's start from mothers. We celebrated mothers a few weeks ago. What do you foresee when this tax is implemented? What do you foresee as the side effect on the mothers particularly?
One, the mothers who will not be able to afford those pampers, they will have to derive alternatives. Most probably, the alternatives will be to use the cloth
The nappies.
The nappies, to use the cloth pampers. And those cloth pampers come away a lot with very many disadvantages. One, it is very time consuming. These nappies need a lot of time to keep changing. You keep, every after 2 hours, by the way. They are not dry like the pampers. You know, with the pampers, when you remove them, they are dry. They have that substance or chemical that keeps the urine of the babies dry, not like the cloth pampers. The cloth pampers will keep wet. So every after 2 hours, you have to change. And that means every after 2 hours, maybe how many hours do you have in a day? So every after 2 hours, you have to keep changing. They keep piling. So every day, you have to wash. The soap will have to increase. Second, it's going to be very challenging for the mothers who cannot afford those pampers, but they have to leave their children somewhere with someone or with a helper to keep them as they go to work. It is going to be very challenging. I personally, it will be difficult for me for you to bring your child and leave her with me, but then I have to keep washing her poo and her wee. It will be very challenging for me. But it will be easy for me if all I need to do is dry off the pamper, dispose it off, wipe, and put another as you retire from your work to come and take your baby. You know, that is what we're living in right now. These are realities, not just imaginary things. These are realities we are talking about. It is of late that parents, when you give birth, you don't stay home to look after your child until they really learn to go to the toilet by themselves, or until they can really tell that, I want to go to the toilet. You leave them as early as you need. Because, I mean, if I stay home, then I have to look after my child for as long as I need to my child to stop using the pampers or the cloth pampers. Where is it leaving me and my family? We need to eat. We need to pay rent. We need to pay water. We need to meet these costs, because I'm sure it is not only the diapers that have actually been hiked in taxes. Every commodity we are using right now, some of these we don't complain because, I mean, it's okay. We can try to minimize their usage. We can try to even live without them. Personally, I stopped taking sugar. I cannot afford it. So I completely stopped taking sugar. But there is no one time I will wake up and be like, this month I'm not menstruating. At no moment will I ever wake up and say, I'm not going to menstruate. Every month, I like it or not, as long as I'm not pregnant, I will mess.
Maybe that is the only escape route.
So there are some things that are not optional. Sisobola kuchesalirawo nganze. I cannot wake up and tell my child, lero tofuka. Whether you like it or not, tewali pamper, tofuka. Oba ni mga nti omanyi ngenda kulekera uncle oba auntie, today make sure you don't poo. It's never there. There are some things that are not optional. They are mandate. You like it, you don't like it. In the night, the baby of about 3 months will not wake you up and tell you, Daddy, I want to pee. They will not. If you're sharing beds with them, meaning the whole bed and the entire people that are sharing the bed will be messed. They are trying to push us to the things that we're coming from. I mean, the things we're trying to advance to and, find solutions is why they're taking us back. I think we should be moving forward. They should be putting alternatives. Because if I cannot really manage to stay home with my child from morning to evening, because of certain reasons, and I'm trying to derive means to easen the work of the people that are looking after my children so that I can meet the high costs of these people they're imposing on us. Because literally, they've imposed taxes on everything. And we have accepted. There is no way we are going to pay those taxes when we are not working. And there is no way you're going to say, mukendezo kuzala, tugenda kuzala. Tutandika butandisi. Let them easen our work. Tiwemba nina abana batano mbamba za pampa nengena nenkola, I can afford to give them food, transport, and pay their extra costs in taxes because everything has been hiked. We are paying taxes on everything. OTT, we are paying taxes. Echibiditi chenkozese waka, we are paying taxes. Even where I'm seated right now, with my glasses, with my everything, there is tax on everything. So some of the things we can adhere. We will not come on TV and shout. We will not even try to negotiate with them because they've increased these taxes. But there are some necessities that should not really be tampered with. There are a lot of optional things that can be taxed. Very many. I don't even know why they don't tax buno mwenge gutunywa. Like you talked about it. Some bars sell alcohol at 10, at 20, but there are some people who are determined. Nebokera kumachano ganti echupa ya bia ya mitwale 5. The heroes will take it.
Not just heroes.
You know?
There are guys who will take it.
Take it, not one, not two. They will sell their cars, they will sell everything, but it is okay, it is up to them.
And by the way, for some people, buying a bottle of beer 20,000 is nothing.
Is nothing. So in Uganda,
why not tax those kind of? We are not
those things.
But anyway, some of the things need to be spoken. If someone is willing to pay for a bottle of beer 20,000 and is determined, why not tax it to that level?
To that level, because I mean, this is something you want it, you will take it. You don't want it, you cannot afford it, it is okay. But there are certain commodities, whether you want it or not. For example, you're going to church. Trust me, you will make sure, you try so hard to make sure at least you put on a pamper for those few hours you're going to be in church. And when you return back home, you can take it off. There are people, by the way, who are doing that severely. They only put on pampers on certain occasions. When they're going to the hospital, when, just imagine you're in church and then you have to keep changing the wet cloth nappies, and then carrying those dirty diapers with you is also another burden. That is one of the disadvantages.
But anyway, did you ever notice that those are mothers, every time they went with you to public, they never sat where the rest of the people are. They were gazetted to a particular place knowing where we can't see. So that if the child, the pedo, would you have an escape route. But now if you went to church, church is church.
Church is church.
The people and all of you are there. There's very little you can do.
So as the government, they should be a bit considerate to their citizens. A bit considerate. We know they are not considerate, but a bit considerate. They are getting these taxes to make sure that they provide the services, service delivery that we want. We want good roads. The potholes have also become another issue. Our mothers die while they are giving birth for very many reasons. I'm sure you'll call me back here because there are very many challenges the mothers are facing. Being the month of the mothers, we can highlight some of a few, but there are very many challenges our mothers are facing. Very many. So if you decide to add more challenges, instead of solving a few of those, we actually would advocate for the government to come up and support these young mothers. There are very many young mothers, I'm telling you. Some have been raped. Some it's because of the adolescent age, they get into relationships. At the end of the day, they are pregnant and their partners are not there to be supportive. Worst of them, their parents have chased them from their families. So we should be rendering support and help to these young girls, not hardening their life. Because when we harden their life, what next? They're going to derive means. This is from MTN. They are trying to make a living.
The other day, one called a friend. So the person was like, I don't understand what you're saying. Let me give you to my husband. She was literally not my wife, but we're in public. So she said, you talk to my husband. So the guy's like, no, you can't finish it yourself. So and she gave me the phone. I said, hello, Sebo. How are you? I'm fine. So you are the husband? I said, not really, but she's my friend. And I said, hey, so what were you saying? So he started narrating to me. So I told him, my brother, first send me some of the money you've made so far from this kind of conning. The man abused me thoroughly. But for me, it was a human being, human saved.
Yeah, I don't...
You insult me, but
you have saved someone. And there are also a big number of people that have fallen culprits.
Exactly.
They have fallen victims of those cons. Very many people have been scammed. Very many people have been conned. And quite a number of people are going to come up with these habits or vices because they are trying to get survival means. We already suffocated. People need breathing space. So if you continue to suffocate them more, there are very many offenses that are going to come up because people are already suffocated. When you suffocate them more, these are the killings you're seeing, my friend. People are suffocated. They can't breathe.
When people become tired, anything can happen.
So someone finds it easier to get a gun and shoot himself than returning back home to hungry and angry children and the wife is gloomy. With us, when there is no money, it's a different thing.
Yeah. The only thing that welcomes you
is
a long mouth. Eh?
I'm expecting a kavero of bread and milk, and then all you have to tell me is that today things didn't go well. Then the face will sadden, the bedroom matters will worsen, the children will cry, and I'll be like, "Gende water towel." There is a way money makes life soft.
You understand? Money. Whoever made money did that bad.
But anyway, it's on a serious note, by the way.
Whoever made money, you caused havoc.
So someone is frustrated.
Come on, take it back.
Someone is suffocating. Instead of reducing them and giving them some space to breathe, you're suffocating them more. Those are the gunshots you're seeing. Those are the murder cases you're seeing. Those are the theft cases you're seeing.
And by the way, those are the ones which come to public. There are guys who die.
Yeah,
who
when
die
we don't
silently.
know. A lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
And poverty tampers so much with the mental health. I see people talking about mental health even in today's paper. The speaker seeks mental health for mental health checks for all. My friend, you're going to check it. Everyone has an issue. And the biggest issue today is poverty.
Poverty, very good.
When you are poor, there is no way your mental health will be okay.
Yeah, actually this increment in taxes is not affecting only the mothers. It's also affecting you men.
No, but can anything only affect mothers? There are mothers who are entirely dependent
on the men. And also there are mothers who are entirely dependent on themselves. The single mothers.
Yeah,
but
there are those. Now those are two extremes. Because
actually, those are the many.
If one is a mother and a father
at the same time,
then you know there is a problem there.
But
this one who has the wife is here
and the husband is here. Yes, you try to make
ends
that's
meet.
what we were talking about the last show.
That is slightly. The burden is lighter. But for this woman who is a mother and a father.
So just imagine, Odeke, you're taking back your children to school tomorrow, like me, I'm taking back mine tomorrow. The requirements at school themselves are alarming. And the government is not intervening. Because sometimes they ask us for requirements and we're like, okay, are we starting a supermarket? So you have one going back to school, it is a whole problem. You have another one who is at home, the pampers are being increased.
Now,
the fees itself is becoming another business.
Now, the child of P1, they're asking for a ream. How many papers are in a ream of paper? 500. You count how many papers your child is going to bring back in their file at the end of the term. If they can go beyond 50, you praise the Lord.
So you look at the ream, you look at the toilet papers, you look at the brooms, you look at the scrubbing brushes. I mean, the whole school is bringing a scrubbing brush, but at what interval those brushes going to be used for a term of 3 months? But the whole school is bringing brushes.
Okay, now like crazy. I want to implore parents, please, as you take these things to schools, please take them the way they ask for them. But put spy network in these schools at the end of the term. These things are picked from schools. These reams of papers are bought from schools and they are brought back to NASA. So you again come and buy from NASA and take it back to school. Then from school, a small percentage is used and the rest come back to. So there is a recycle, there is a circle of.
So these are things the government should be helping us with. Let them put minimum requirements or maximum requirements. Honestly speaking, there are certain things that go way extra and you have to do them. You have no option.
But how do you do that when the government has put a free market economy? Put your service, put your product, set its own price.
That is now the biggest.
Those days when government had its own schools, when the government had its own transport entities, when government had its own factories, they would say the price of soap is this much.
And that is it. In Kabale, in Kampala, in supermarkets, it's the same price.
If you put yours beyond, it is okay you will not have market. Yesterday I was with a friend who gave me a bottle of water. The army has, I think, a factory that produces water.
Yes, is it Wazale or something like that?
Something. And now, if government is producing water and they are saying a bottle of 500 milliliters is let's say 300 shillings and it is in market, however much these other private entities come up with their water, they cannot take it beyond 500 because if they go beyond 500, everyone will go for the government
water,
which is at 300. Who would want to? the demand and supply thing will definitely have things fall in place. But what does government have to do?
But you know, even most of these private companies, they belong to them. So
Okay. I didn't want to go that side. So those are things that are happening in Uganda. Some people are sleeping and sleeping. They are giving birth. Muzale government yesomise naye ejja kusomesa abamu bakona. So, but anyway, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. Is there anything you want to tell us about that bit before we go to the other sect?
about the bit of the Pampers?
The Pampers and then the pads. It is just a big, huge blow that we're seeing.
I think we've exhausted it and tried to show the need as to why certain things should be exempted from high taxes or even taxes at all. Because these are things that are a necessity. To some people, they may look at it as a luxury because but I want people to stop that mentality of kumyaka jamwe nemyaka jino. Things are totally different. Fe kumyaka jafete wako nkonanga kugeti kuleta bilu ya amazi. The time I was in the village, I never saw anyone with a Umeme oval bringing a bill at home. For the whole time I grew up in village, salabangako ngatugule nyanya, ngatugule obutungulu, ngatugule toke. You would simply run to the garden, ojeyo obutomato obuliyo, ojeye toke liriyo, you cook, boil and eat. At this time, bobo de wakanga tewaleseyo matoke, oyino okugula matoke, oyino okugula nyanya, oyino okugula buto. At this time, they will constantly knock on your gate to give you water bills and electricity bills. There are very many things that have changed from your times when you were raised without nappies, when you were raised without Pampers, when you were times where you never used to put on Pampers. How would I come here in this studio, honestly, without, if I'm in my periods, without a pamper? Meaning I would leave this whole studio nasty, you people would, I would be disgusting, I would be dirty, and the whole environment would be concerned, So the times they lived should not really be compared to our current times. We are having a totally different kind of living. Totally.
Actually, now Umeme is prepared. You either load your car or you're in darkness.
You're in darkness.
There is nothing like
yes.
You either load your car or you
stay in darkness.
With water, I see it heading also that same direction. Because now you access your bill on phone. Before you notice, it is also going to become prepaid. And
when you don't have water, how many areas, for example, ababera musite muno, ogenda sanga wa dam wetwasenanga amazi emidimo. Omudumo. Where will you find it to go and get the free water? Meaning you still have to find ways of getting 500 otumo mwana ekidomola chebi tano akufunira amazi.
And do you know where I'm staying? We have a spring somewhere near. And some loaded dude is threatening to just put the road there to his place. And that is where the entire community has been getting water.
Surprisingly, the security will come and guard him to remove it.
Yeah, they already guarded him.
Surprisingly.
There is police there. And he tells you this is where the road passes. But
and the entire community will suffer.
Now, how many people are suffering because of... But anyway, that is Uganda for you.
That these people put on the shoes of the layman's life, even if they are not in those shoes. Ekitufu temuli yambala ngatto zaffe, temuli zibeeramu, because you've made a lot. Even if you're no longer in power tomorrow, you have a lot to sustain yourselves until you die. But the people you are leading, the people you are serving, the people that voted you are not seated in your office, are not earning on your salary. They are not getting a benefit of your payment. You have to make bills that really match to the standards of the people that voted you. You have to pass bills that are really matching to the lifestyle of the people you're leading. Otherwise, you're forcing your citizens to actually become criminals so that they meet the costs of your high taxes.
Not only the citizens, including the lawmakers, including the ones who are to arrest. The arresters are becoming the criminals.
You see, the other week there is a driver that came up and complained of the salaries.
And now he's in cells.
To my surprise, I would expect something contrary to what is happening. To my surprise. Because, I mean, if someone's ways of raising an issue have been frustrated, and the only way, by the way, that nowadays to raise issues is media. If you want a concern heard, come to the media. That is where you see the potholes of Spire. You know Spire. You say, okay, well, now we're campaigning for potholes, and, you know, they were raised. Now we're campaigning for the police. Now we're campaigning for the hospitals. And these issues have been raised, heard, and seen. If someone's way of complaint has been frustrated and they come to the media, I don't think arresting them is a solution.
Well, universities face heat over expired courses. You need to check and confirm if your course is not yet expired. I was checking through and I just noticed, I looked through and I'm like, but really, what is happening? Almost all courses are expired.
And you know, these are things Ugandans are not even going to start fighting and quarreling about. How many people are even practicing their courses?
Maybe.
We have very many journalists that are way down, you know, we know, you know, so these are people who are not even going to come. A few people will come up and complain and follow up, you know, even the parents. There are very few who you will sit down and be like, oh, my daddy, my course is expired, you know, and they will really get sense out of it. Ugandans are really frustrated to the extent of they don't want to know.
But Ugandans are in another world. Sometimes I imagine Ugandans don't live in Uganda. Because now really, you have an expired degree.
You have an expired driving permit that you don't even have a car. You have an expired... Everything is expired. And people will still be like, nevertheless, we have to move on.
And actually, some guy made fun today and he was like, Musa Agamwe. For us, we can even take expired milk.
Yeah.
We even take expired milk and nothing happens to us.
He's very
so
right.
How about an expired document? Let it get expired.
That is what I'm telling you, you know. Because at the end of the day, they are not going to just be like, this is expired. Trust me, somewhere, somehow, there is a cost that has to be incurred. Trust me, these people are not people who pass things just for just. Watch the space. Where it is leading us to. And some universities have already come out and they're like, for us, we don't have that money to, you know, to review and verify these things.
Then why are those given licenses?
That is our Uganda.
And I think, and not that they don't have that money, because every student pays.
Yes, by the about 20,000.
The university I went to pays 20,000. I don't know the university you went to.
I think averagely it's that almost all universities pay 20,000, almost all.
And that
every student.
Where I went, there is a different bank slip for that money. It is not actually the one for the university fees and what. It is a different totally slip you use to pay that money. Why don't you guys pay the money and have these things accredited? And then you said, I hear the problem is laxity on our side, and then on the other side, even the National Council. Excuse us, pay the money, and then you report and say we paid. National Council has failed to accredit the courses, and then there we. But you have failed to pay, and now you are saying it is laxity. Laxity, why? But anyway, that is Uganda for you. Sometimes we sit in offices with expired papers. At least those who sit with expired papers, they have the knowledge. But then there are those who have a degree, which is manufactured from Nasarod. And they are all in big offices in this government and in Uganda. God bless you till we catch again up next Tuesday. Don't come for me because I said some people have degrees from Nasarod. That's the truth. And if you have one, it is okay until they get you. But if they don't get you, for God and my country, God bless you.